In the heart of a forgotten village stood an old chapel, its crumbling stone walls cloaked in vines. Locals spoke of a ghostly figure, a woman in white, who roamed the grounds at twilight. Curious and unafraid, a group of friends decided to explore the chapel one stormy night. As they approached, the wind howled, rattling the cracked stained glass. Inside, the air was thick with despair and dust. Whispers echoed off the walls, urging them to leave. Ignoring the warnings, they ventured deeper, drawn to a flickering candlelight at the altar. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. Panic set in as shadows danced across the walls. One friend, named Tom, felt compelled to speak. "What do you want?" he called out. To their horror, the figure appeared, a translucent woman, her eyes hollow yet filled with sorrow. She pointed toward an old, tattered Bible on the altar. Tom, trembling, opened the book, revealing a hidden note detailing a tragic love story and a betrayal that led to her untimely death. The ghost's anguished wail filled the chapel as she vanished, leaving behind a chilling silence. The friends fled, never to return, forever haunted by the realization that redemption may never come for the forgotten soul. Mark was a tech-savvy bachelor, bored one night. He ventured onto the dark web, lured by whispered tales of hidden forums and unsolved mysteries. After an hour of browsing, he stumbled upon a live chat titled "The Truth Unveiled." Curiosity piqued, he clicked in. A sinister message greeted him. "Welcome, seeker of secrets. Would you like to witness the unthinkable?" Mark hesitated but typed, "Yes." An image flickered on the screen, grainy footage depicting a dimly lit room. In the center, a figure was bound to a chair, their face obscured by shadows. The chat erupted with excitement. "This is real," someone typed. Mark's heart raced. Then, without warning, the figure turned, revealing a familiar face, his own. Panic surged. How could this be? The audience demanded a decision: save him or join him. Mark was frozen. Suddenly, his screen went black, and a chilling voice echoed, "You've chosen to join him." The next thing he knew, he was staring into his own terrified eyes on the screen. Mark realized too late that the dark web didn't just show you the truth, it could take you there, forever trapped in a nightmare of your own making. It was a rainy night when Tom, a weary taxi driver, picked up a fare on the outskirts of the city. The passenger, a woman in a tattered white dress, slid into the back seat. Her eyes were hollow, staring vacantly as she whispered an address that sent a chill down Tom's spine. As he drove, the atmosphere grew heavy, and the air thick with an unsettling energy. The streets blurred by, but Tom's focus remained on the rearview mirror, where the woman sat unnervingly still. When they reached the destination, an abandoned house on the edge of town, Tom hesitated. The woman pointed toward the dilapidated structure, her voice barely a whisper, urging him to stop. As he parked, she suddenly leaned forward, her expression shifting from serene to menacing. In a voice laced with malice, she revealed her intention. She needed a ride to the underworld, and Tom was chosen to take her. Panic surged through him. He slammed on the gas, desperate to escape, but the car stalled. The woman's laughter echoed in the confined space, chilling him to his core. With a final piercing scream, she vanished, leaving Tom alone in the car, the realization dawning that he had taken his last ride. As dusk settled over Cedar Creek, Michael, an avid fisherman, cast his line from the old bridge. The air was thick with silence, save for the gentle lapping of water below. But something felt off that evening. A chill ran down his spine as shadows began to creep from the trees. He recalled the local tales of the ghostly figure seen near the bridge, a woman in tattered white weeping for her lost love. He chuckled nervously, dismissing it as mere folklore. Yet, as he continued to fish, an eerie sensation enveloped him. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of his eye. A figure stood at the end of the bridge, her hair wild, her dress flowing like mist. Heart pounding, he turned to confront her, but she vanished, leaving only a cold breeze in her wake. Just then, he felt a tug on his line, but when he reeled it in, he found only a rusted locket. Curiosity overwhelmed him, and he opened it, revealing a faded picture of a woman strikingly similar to the ghost. The realization hit hard. She was searching for something lost, something that now belonged to him. As darkness fell, the locket felt heavier, and he knew he could never return to Cedar Creek again. Mark had always been intrigued by the forgotten graveyard at the edge of town. It lay shrouded in thick vines and secrecy, its headstones barely visible beneath the overgrowth. One foggy afternoon, armed with nothing but a flashlight and his curiosity, he pushed through the tangled brush. As he ventured deeper, the air turned cold, and an uneasy feeling crept over him. The inscriptions on the stones were worn, but one particular grave caught his eye, a name he recognized from local legends: Elizabeth Gray, a woman rumored to have dabbled in dark arts. Mark felt a chill surge through him. Just then, a rustle broke the eerie silence, and he turned to see a shadow darting between the trees. Heart-pounding, he followed, hoping it was just an animal. Instead, he stumbled upon a clearing, revealing a circle of stones, and in the center, a fresh grave. Confused, he leaned closer, only to see that it was not a grave at all. It was a shallow pit filled with bones. Suddenly, he felt a cold grip on his shoulder. He turned to see a ghostly figure of Elizabeth, her eyes hollow and filled with rage. "You shouldn't have come here," she whispered. With a scream, Mark realized he was not alone, and the graveyard had claimed another soul. In a quiet town, there was a library known for its endless aisles and dusty books. The librarian, Mrs. Hargrove, was an elderly woman with a peculiar demeanor. She would often whisper to herself as she shelved books, her eyes darting around as if she were guarding secrets. One evening, a group of friends decided to explore the library after hours, intrigued by rumors of strange happenings. Armed with only flashlights, they crept through the darkened halls. The air felt thick, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. As they wandered deeper, they stumbled upon a locked door marked "Staff Only." Curiosity getting the better of them, they forced it open. Inside, they found a small room filled with old leather-bound tomes and an ornate mirror that seemed to pulse with an eerie glow. Suddenly, Mrs. Hargrove appeared, her face twisted in rage. "You shouldn't be here," she shrieked, her voice echoing as the lights flickered. The friends turned to flee, but the door slammed shut. As they turned back, Mrs. Hargrove was gone, replaced by their own reflections, horrified and trapped. The mirror had claimed them, just as it had claimed her. The library remained silent, and the townsfolk whispered of the librarian who had never really left. The old factory loomed like a giant, rotting skeleton against the night sky, its windows dark and broken. James, the night watchman, had heard the stories, how the factory had been the site of a terrible explosion, trapping workers inside. But he needed the job, so he set his doubts aside and took his shift. As the clock struck midnight, an eerie chill swept through the building. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, whispering his name. He laughed it off, convincing himself it was just the wind. Yet, as he made his rounds, he stumbled upon a flickering light in the assembly hall. Curiosity piqued, he approached, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. To his horror, he found figures, ghostly workers, their faces twisted in agony, trapped in an eternal loop of their last moments. They reached out, their eyes pleading. James froze as their whispers grew louder, blaming him for their fate. Panic surged through him, and he turned to flee, but the shadows enveloped him. Suddenly, he was pulled back, joining the spirits in their torment. The next morning, the factory stood silent once more, but a new name was etched on the roster. James, the night watchman, now forever one of the lost, bound to haunt the factory with the others.